Tony here with Mikey, Willie, and Allie. Welcome, guys.
You put him up to that, didn't you, Will?
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
I knew it.
Hey, but it sounded good. It sounded really well. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, Al, this is for you, buddy.
Now, bumper music.
The Godfather.
I like that. Hey, Al, you got a new nickname. You're the Godfather now.
Awesome. Sparks Restaurant in New York is having a curbside a special in honor of Paul Castellano. It's called the Curbside Takeout.
Curbside takeout. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get a side order of Gotti fries.
Oh, look at him. He's on a roll today.
With extra ketchup.
The extra ketchup. And for your drink, you get 2 shots.
Wow. Love it.
Oh my God, are we bad?
Hey, that's okay. We need to be back.
That's right.
Yeah. Bad to the bone.
Are you talking to me? I know you're not talking to me.
You're talking to me.
What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully?
Hey, we need you guys in public
That's
office.
the best.
We need you guys in public
That's
office.
the best Godfather I think I've ever heard.
Damn good. Wasting his time with us. So
Well, apparently not. Apparently, Al has an announcement to make tonight, and we're all looking forward to it. I hope it has nothing to do with I hope it has nothing to do with a violin case or a closet.
No, nothing like that. I've been working on getting Operation Gratitude in our Chamber of Commerce for a long time, and we finally made it happen.
Good.
Operation Gratitude is now a member of the West Valley Warner Center Chamber of Commerce.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I want to give a shout out to Dan Stroll of Good Sweet Computer Security Service, because he sponsored their membership, and he also paid for a booth at our upcoming event in March.
Cool.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Well, GOP Judy has to love that.
GOP Judy is the one who made it happen. So
That's
she put me in touch with the CEO, and then I put him in touch with our CEO, and the deal just got closed yesterday.
Good
job.
job.
I'm
Good
super
job,
excited
Al.
about that. I'm very grateful for you for that. I have a soft spot for veterans and people that serve.
Of course.
I think we forget about the sacrifices they make on our behalf. The nights they spend. Well, I know you don't. The nights they spend on guard duty, watching our back while we're able to sleep at night. There's a lot of things that people don't know. They watch the news, they see these guys in uniform, but they don't know what they really do on a day-to-day basis, which is sad. We need to remind people, just like Red Friday. To me, that's an important day for me every Friday, right? I wear red. I don't give a crap what my job says. I'm wearing a red shirt that day. Just to show my support to my fellow veterans and people that are interested in supporting the people that sacrifice their families for us. So thank you so much, Al, for doing that.
That's
You
right.
got it.
Much appreciated.
Well done.
Thank you. And you guys
So,
are
Al, what else is going on in Hollywood?
not a whole lot. Same old.
What's the scoop on Kevin Costner? Is he staying on Yellowstone or not?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Mikey, that's like asking, is California going to get better right away or not? No answer for that.
That's true.
No answer. But
Well, I think where Mike and I are on the Kevin Costner issue, I think we need to convince him to stay on, and somewhere in Hollywood, you've got to have a horse head available.
Yeah, I think the props department might have one.
Speaking of that, in the Godfather movie, that was an actual horse's head.
Is that
of a
right?
horse.
I know. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, the horse died of natural causes. So they chopped off.
And that's the one movie. That's the one movie where you never see the disclaimer at the end. No animal was hurt in the filming of this movie.
Well, if he's already dead, he wasn't hurt.
I don't think.
Right?
I think back in those days, you didn't have to have disclaimers for anything, right? we accepted
right.
things for what they were. I saw an article on the Addams Family a couple of days ago that it was the first interracial couple ever, right, on TV. And it's sad that that's how we're looking at it nowadays. Because when I used to watch the show, I didn't think about it in that way. They were just a couple, right? I never thought about it being interracial at all. And this is where we're at today, where that's considered something important. Well, they were just happy together. Doesn't matter what color they were or what background.
No, now woke is trying to fuck with our movies.
Yeah. No.
Well, you know. Hey, woke.
We've allowed it.
That's why, if you have your movies on DVD, they can't fuck with it.
That's right.
But if you buy them on a streaming platform, they can change it anytime they want.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's sad that this is like, I'm married to a Caucasian woman, right? I never thought of her as being as a Caucasian when I met her in high school. I just thought she was hot and I wanted to go out with her.
Yeah.
I never thought about she wasn't Puerto Rican or Mexican or whatever. I didn't care about any of that. But yet nowadays, we magnify all that and make people look at things like that when it's really not relevant, right? The Jeffersons, I don't know if you guys remember the Jeffersons.
Yes.
One of the characters, she was married to that chunky white guy.
Right.
They talked about that show. How it was. Yeah, I mean, to me, it wasn't a big deal. They were just a couple. Not that they were just a simple couple.
Stanford and Son, All in the Family. None of those shows would fly today.
Oh no. Hell, you can't even look at somebody cockeyed anymore. You get in trouble. So
I know.
Do you know what? Do you know what Fred Sanford would say to the woke movement today?
Oh,
you a dummy.
You can't say that. I said that at work and I got in trouble. You can't say that.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Okay. All right, yeah.
You have to change it to say, you're not intelligent.
No, actually, what I said was,
I'm coming, Elizabeth. I can't take the woke movement anymore. I'm coming home.
What I said was, and I'll tell you exactly what I said in a meeting. I said, I've trained you, I've coached you how to do this, and you either don't want to do it or you're just too dumb. And boy, that caused all kinds of, emails to corporate and HR that I called them a dummy. But the way my response was to corporate was, well, if they're that upset about it, then they know it's them, because I said it in a group environment. So they must feel guilty that they can't do their job.
That's right.
But again, here we are going back to the extreme where you just can't be yourself and talk to people. Everything has to be in writing and everything has to be justified. You just can't have a conversation with somebody. Hey, I just need you to do your job. That's all I need you to do.
It's that simple. Tony, you're absolutely right. It's that simple. I remember my grandfather, Griffith, telling me a story about his dad, my great-grandfather, who used to go door to door during the Depression to sell, do you remember those old cars, the Willys?
Oh, yeah. Jeeps.
Yeah. Well, he went door to door to sell those, and that's when a car was affordable and used a lot of gasoline too, by the way. but he got to meet his neighbors, and a lot of those contracts were with a handshake. Wasn't a lot of legalese and paperwork and so forth. And if the car broke down, there would always be somebody in the neighborhood that could fix it. And but everybody eventually had a car. And
well, that's because when they changed the name to Jeep, Jeep actually stands for Just Enough Essential Parts.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, that's the sad part. That's the sad part under this administration is the big Illinois plant, the Jeep plant in Illinois, shut down. Yeah. 1,700 plus workers laid off.
Moving to Mexico.
But you know,
well, somewhere, yeah, but definitely not Illinois. That's bad for the economy.
Mikey's not lying. There's a company that was bought by Keon called Dematic. They do almost every conveyor installation, every warehouse in the United States and abroad, right? They moved it from Michigan to Mexico, the corporate office,
right?
To save money, right? And I think
because it's cheap. Because it's cheap labor.
No, I get that, but the government should not allow that to happen, right? Well, if you're going to move your organization, just like banks do, you know, when you call your bank, you're talking to somebody in another country, right? They should not be allowed to do that without having a penalty, right? Because it takes jobs away from Americans. And again, I thought since we live in America and this is our republic, we should take care of our own, right? That's how I look at it. And
but after
fight.
Yeah, but after the COVID crisis, Tony, and this is a poll that came out the other day through Reuters and NBC, and I think Fox News reported it as well, is that 62% of Americans are choosing to work part-time rather than full-time, even though they are given their full-time jobs back. They like that part-time thing. Well, and so you're going to see a whole new labor movement here, but people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, to each their own. If they only want to work part-time, it's on them, right? I'm not saying we force people to work, but I think we need to give the people the opportunity to work, right? Instead of not giving it to them. And I'll use in my world, right? We're always looking for people, and I know people don't want to work. Well, trust me, I know, because I get turned down quite often during the day. No, I don't want to work right now, right? We make it too easy for people not to work, right? Because what do? We subsidize people, right? If you're a single male and you're collecting general relief and you're able to work, the government is not doing you a favor by giving you money to stay home, right? They're enabling you to be a useless human being. Right? That's what they're doing. And by useless, I mean, at some point they might have a family and all they're going to teach their kids is their way of just, I don't want to say getting over on the government, but taking advantage of the system. Right. And
but you have to, go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead, Will.
No, what I'm going to say though, is the government set themselves up for this. Right. You don't think people, I mean, Communist Russia during the Soviet era did the same thing with their people. You know, and one of the great economic hazards of this country was the COVID crisis. Now, I know some of us got the vaccine and some of us did not, but we all got COVID one way or another, or we know somebody that did.
Right. And you're right. The government set itself up, but what is that? You just said it, right? Russia did that. The Soviet Union did that. So what path are we going on? Is a path that I see we're going on is kind of like what Chelsea said the other day, right? We're heading to World War III, right? The way we're going, right?
We are approaching a new world war. Whether the American people,
we're allowing Zelensky, Biden, and NATO to do things that are going to cause China to back up the Soviet Union.
Well, you're absolutely correct. Tulsi is correct. Tulsi is correct.
Putin did a week ago, he did away with the nuclear arms treaty, right? Last week. He did away
Yes,
with it, right?
he
So
did.
now there is no treaty. Right? He can do whatever the hell he wants now. Right?
Well, and you know, Ronald Reagan is turning over in his grave, and the only thing he has to say is, "Well, there they go again."
Well,
And this is the point, and this is the point that we are trying to make. Not just us on this show, but Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem. I mean, look, Governor Kristi Noem in South Dakota is fighting China to take back South Dakotan property. Farmers' property that under the radar they bought up in the darkness of night. And there are probably some crooked politicians in South Dakota that facilitated it. But the point is, we either keep sacred what is sacred in this country, or we just say, you know what? We give it to China. We give it to Russia.
Well,
the reason why Ukraine is so important is because we are fighting we have been fighting the same enemy they're fighting now, and we are about to walk into another world war if this president and maybe the next president. I know, and Al, you're right. This is the last thing that we need. This is the last thing that our children and grandchildren, because this is not World War I or World War II anymore. And we have to recognize the fact that the Russian people, the American people, are not the only ones with weapons of mass destruction and nuclear weapons.
And
it's a whole different world. Well, it's a whole different world than when we were growing up in the 1970s and 80s.
All these world leaders need to get together and watch the movie The Day After.
Yep.
Well, yes, I agree, but you try to convince them to do that.
Well,
they're too busy. They're too busy playing with TikTok. But
let me say something, Will. Right? The American people need to be more engaged than they are, because here we are under the radar, right? We just sent 200 military personnel to Taiwan to train them on using our equipment and American tactics. Okay,
right.
The last time we did that was what? Oh, that's right, Vietnam, right?
Well, and there's a reason for that, because we are going to defend the United States under our treaty agreements. We are going to defend Taiwan at all costs. And if that means taking on communist China and Russia, we're going to do it, because we promised we were going to do it. But
we can
but this is the wrong, but the timing is wrong.
No, and there's no good timing for combat. I'll speak to that. As a 26-year Army veteran, combat is the last thing any of us want to see, right? We'll protect and defend the nation to the bitter end, but we do not want to see that. Nobody does. No matter what anybody thinks. Nobody's a warmonger.
We do not need the American people. We just got out of Afghanistan was our longest military operation, even surpassing Vietnam.
Right.
And it took Joe Biden to say enough is enough. But we should have done that under President George W. Bush. We should have gotten out of Afghanistan as quickly as possible. Nothing.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you, Will. But I'll tell you this. I don't like dwelling in the past. What we should have, could have done then, it doesn't really matter at this point. We already screwed that up, right? We screwed that pooch. So let's focus on how we can make it better now, right? The American people have a right to know why we're doing certain things, but they're not questioning their own leaders, right? Nobody wants to question, because it takes effort and time to do that, right? It's like we always say, right? Government starts at the home, right? People can't even take care of their own home life anymore, right? They depend on the government to do that for them. And parents have kind of let that happen, right? Oh, Junior, I want to be your friend. I really don't want to be your daddy or your mommy. Let's be buddies and hang out.
No, that's absolutely true. We tend in this era to want to be friends to our children instead of being the voice of reason.
Or the mentors.
And nobody wants to be the bad guy or the bad gal.
No, but sometimes you have to be honest with people, right? And I heard Zelensky, they had him on an interview talking about at some point the American people have to get on the ground and help him fight. What does that really mean? Right? What does it mean?
Well, when we start talking about this is how Vietnam started under Dwight Eisenhower. Vietnam did not start under John F. Kennedy.
Right.
And it was started by a Republican with observers.
It was started by the French.
And it was ended by a Republican, Richard Nixon. Ended the war in Vietnam.
It was started by the French, and then we went in with the French, and the French backed the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why when I go to McDonald's, I ask them. When I go to McDonald's, I still ask for freedom fries. I refuse to recognize the French.
Yeah.
But Mikey, to your point, they were smart enough to say, because in that first combat zone, they got whacked pretty good. So they didn't want to go back, but we didn't learn our lesson. We wanted to go in. And that's a problem, right? A lot of times these leaders make decisions not on what's better for all of us, but what's best for their egos, right?
Right.
They want to have something in the history books with their name on them instead of doing the right thing for the Republic, which is really, I can't figure out why people don't care more about the Republic than they do the nonsense that happens.
How many of our high school graduates today know the difference between a democracy and a constitutional republic? I mean, let's face the facts. Okay. And how many are taught that in the home?
I'll answer your question this way. I'm very familiar with Army recruiting, and they can't make their quota because people can't pass the basic test that you got to take. So what the Army's doing is training these kids, normally from low-income homes, on how to pass the test so they can meet their quotas, right? So if they're not teaching the kids just basic math and English skills in school, I doubt they're teaching them anything else.
I remember taking
absolutely true, especially history. And I know, and I appreciate that about you, Tony. You don't like to dwell in the past, but to me, history means everything in learning how to do it better. And as a government and as an administration, not just Joe Biden, but from Joe Biden all the way back to the 1960s, we have not really changed our foreign policy.
No.
We tend to get involved in countries that we think will be an asset, usually for oil or some natural mineral rights or something. Right. But do you think we would be in Africa? Do you think we would have taken a great stake in Nelson Mandela's long journey to freedom had it not been for the diamond mines in South Africa? Give me a break. We don't even support a movement like that in our own country, for God's sake.
It's funny you mention that. Now, is Brazil a friendly country for us? Does anybody know?
Are you asking me?
Don't know.
Yeah, asking everybody.
No,
because
absolutely not a friendly ally.
Because Brazil right now has an Iranian warship docked at their country.
They are not an ally. And how many kids are going to wake up tomorrow and worry about that? No, Brazil is a hostile. Look, this is where I see what Tony said and what Tulsi Gabbard. And I know that some people, I've heard some Republicans say that they don't trust Tulsi Gabbard. Let me tell you something. I trust Tulsi Gabbard with all of my heart. And I know Allie does too, and many people that I know trust her. And I'll tell you why. Not only did she take on the Democratic Clinton Party, the DNC, and told them, no, she's not going to be a puppet. She's going to be the weapon of refusal, and she's going to stand by the Constitution. Now, she could have had a great career as a Democrat. Could have maybe even risen to Speaker of the House. She said no. She didn't want any part of it anymore. But you know, that woman still serves as a lieutenant colonel in the United States Armed Forces. And And while we sit back and we talk about her, she's still doing the heavy lifting with her boots on the ground anytime her country needs her. And when she's not doing that, she's talking about the threats of war and conflict and so forth. And so whether you trust her or not, that's up to you. I trust her with all my heart.
I think more Americans do now than they did in 2020.
I think,
yes,
she
absolutely.
When she
well
speaks,
said, Mike.
She speaks for the Republic, and she speaks for the people. And
Yeah.
even though she's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, she's not a warmonger. She doesn't believe in war. Most of us don't believe in war.
She's been there, seen that.
Right. We don't like that. That's a horrible thing to see. Third world countries aren't exactly happy Disneyland place. She's got a heart, and that's important when you're involved in politics. You got to have a heart, and you got to think about the people. And I credit her dad for teaching her that. You've got to be a good person.
Oh, her dad and her mom. Her mom, Carol, probably had more influence on her faith than her dad did. Her dad politically and music-wise. I think it was a collective effort. But you cannot take away from Carol Porter Gabbard the fact that
I don't know the wife or the mother, so I'll just speak to the people I know. And he's done a great job teaching her how to be human, right?
Right.
How to just be human, right? Care about everybody and everything. And whether you agree with the left or the right, that's not relevant, right? We need to get over all this focusing to one side or the other side. We need to focus in the middle. We all have things in common that we can all agree that need to be fixed. And I'll tell you, there was a survey that came out for Californians. 63% of Californians are in fear for their life because of crime. They're afraid of crime. 63%. That's a huge number.
And right? But that 63% keep voting the same person in.
Exactly. That's my point.
I was just going to say the biggest crime syndicate in California is not the streets, it's Sacramento.
Right.
It's the people we keep electing in our state and our state legislature, our governors, and that is the true crime. But how does that happen? How does that happen?
You know where the other 40% of that 60% went? They moved. They got the hell out of there.
Yeah, they went to South Carolina or South Dakota or Texas. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Yeah. But an exodus is not the answer to save California. It's just not.
Well, that's what Moses did, and it worked out pretty good for him.
No, it didn't work out well for him at all. If you know your biblical history, no, Moses got screwed in the end.
Well, he parted the sea and got his people
40 years. Moses spent. Okay, now you had to bring this up. Moses spent 40 years. Moses spent his first 40 years as an Egyptian, recognized his true identity, spent another 40 years arguing with the children of Israel who God was. And then after all of that, God says, "Oh, guess what? You can't come into the promised land." So now Moses got screwed. Don't bring up Moses. Moses got screwed like the United States government is screwing us. Well, I support Moses.
I think Jesus got screwed pretty bad too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but that depends on who you talk to. That depends on who you talk to.
Back to your point, Mikey, about people leaving California. We lost a congressional seat because of that in California.
Yep.
We lost a congressional.
We lost a couple of congressional seats.
And Will, you're right. Running away is not the solution, but it's the simple solution, right? And people don't want to deal with what's really happening here. People don't want to speak their mind.
It's a temporary reaction to a permanent problem unless we change it. California is a beautiful state. I love California with all my heart. I just hate the politics.
It's the
And
best
that's
state
why
in the union to live. I can tell you that. I've been to many states, many countries. This is the best state in the union to live. However, it's the worst government that I've ever ran across, right? But you know what? I blame the people, because you can't complain about something and not do anything about it. You can't
you're
sit there
absolutely right.
whine.
The people of Chicago are learning.
Yeah, but California is a little slower than Chicago.
A little or a lot?
A lot.
It's the weather, you know, it's 80 degrees one day and snowing the next. I think people are
And people wonder why we're sniffling and coughing.
You know, you would think that at least the people in LA would learn their lesson, but no. What did we do? We voted Karen Bass in, right? Now she's trying to change the police department. What is it? A relook or a new look for the LAPD, right? We have too many African Americans and too many white people, and we don't have enough for this group or that group. We need to change it up, right?
Happening here too.
You know,
but here's the thing we have to look at. This is what the people decided in California, in Los Angeles. Right. They decided that Karen Bass would be the better pick. But you know that election between Bass and Caruso was very close.
Yeah.
And Caruso is too much of a gentleman, really, to pull an Al Gore. So he, but look, believe me when I tell you, Karen Bass has her ear is open, and she's listening to some conservative leaders, and I believe Caruso is probably
speak louder than words.
Yeah, I don't buy that, Will. I don't buy it at all. But Will, hold on. I got Brandon on.
Oh, happy day.
Hey, Brandon.
There he is. I love the truck.
We can't hear you, Brandon.
Yeah. By the way, Channel 4 News called and said they want their truck back. So yell.
Right down the street. How's the audio?
We can't hear you, Brandon.
Volume's weak. Your sound man's got to crank the volume up.
Come on, Brandon. For our news outlet, should have better sound.
You know, we got
Yell. Just
can
yell.
you guys hear me now?
Yes.
A little better.
Yes, better. Yeah.
Volume up.
I am.
Okay. We're right here at Kuwait and Magnolia. You guys hear me? How's the audio? Thanks. How's the audio?
It's not really good.
Turn it up. Turn up the volume.
Yeah, I can't.
Remember that song? Pump up the volume.
I did. Pump up the jam, dude.
The jam.
And you know, it's like right here, it's off the cuff. I don't know if you guys can hear me now, but talking about.
Oh, better, yeah.
We're here at the corner of Kuwait and Magnolia. 7-Eleven owners going out of business. Got shoplifters coming in, filling their pockets up, running out, going down the street, giving it to their fence or meth dealer. And they steal whatever they can: an adjustable wrench, screwdriver, Pepto-Bismol, mouthwash. Prop 47 put a $950 cap on what you can steal. It's a simple misdemeanor. Police don't respond. We're in LAPD County right here. This is North Hollywood Division. They've got a lot of things to do. There's people getting stabbed, shot. There's 7 different street gangs in North Hollywood. And they don't respond to these property crimes. $950 arrest, forget about it. They're not coming. Except the watch commander told the owner of the 7-Eleven, do not call us anymore. We will not respond. It's the wild freaking West. Prop 47 passed in 2014. And the left relabeled it as the Safe Neighborhood and Schools Act. It was a mask. It's a fraud. They pushed it through. Now they've released 13,000 prisoners out on the streets since 2014. They were all resentenced. People that were incarcerated were resentenced and released. So here we are. Middle Eastern gentlemen immigrant, starts a business, saves his money his whole life. The American dream. Going out of business. Because of the Biden administration's policies, the soft on crime politicians right here, the politicized LAPD. You know, the funny thing is, we're right here at Wayne and Magnolia. If you throw a stone just down the street over in Burbank, you could be here in 30 seconds. That's right. This is LAPD territory. This is North Hollywood Division. They will not.
Yep.
Yeah. They've hit our 7-Elevens out here too.
Yeah, and they're hitting everything. And those of you that don't know, Prop 47, like Brandon said, it was in 2014. It was just reducing felonies to misdemeanors, right? And what did that cause? It caused a lot of crimes at Rite Aids, at supermarkets. It was still a certain amount of money. I think it was like $900. It don't come out at all.
Right.
So it makes it difficult for the police to do their job, and sometimes they're going to respond to other crimes, not that one specifically.
And Tony, to be fair, Governor Newsom and Gascon, they all supported this policy, and Gascon is still in office. The crime is rampant here in California, and we're doing nothing about it. So
that's because George Soros is involved.
It goes back to what I told you guys earlier, where 63% of Californians are afraid to be out there, and we're still not doing anything about it, and we want to blame LAPD, but you can't blame the officers. Their hands are tied, right? They know that if they come out, if somebody breaks into a Rite Aid, police aren't going to come out. What for? They can't do anything with them, right?
No, and if they could do something with them, they're going to be on the evening news as the aggressors. See, what we have done here in this country, this is why we have a huge cultural war in this country, is because we have literally made the good guys the bad guys, and made the bad guys. We've literally let the insane run the asylum.
You're right.
Yeah. I've talked to patrolmen off camera in North Hollywood, and they're frustrated. Their hands are tied. These are great officers. These guys are putting their lives out there every day. But the politicized leadership and politics running the department, they can't do anything to stop on crime politicians and the laws that they're wanting to enforce. Their hands are tied, and I've asked them, I go, well, what's the solution? What do we do? And they looked at me and they said, we've got to vote for the right people to get into office. We've got to start voting. That's what they told me. And they're right. It's our fault. We voted these fools in, these criminals running our city and our state. It's the wild freaking West out here. I mean, who knows who you're going to run into? I'm right here in front of the 7-Eleven right now. Who is this guy?
Brandon, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you have a protest coming up March 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And Joy Bahar's been spewing out all the garbage out of her mouth, and we do have a protest coming up this Friday. This Friday.
Well, I have my Adam Schiff mask for re-election.
Awesome. Me and Joy.
We got a live one here. Adam Schiff is not going to help the state of California. Nancy Pelosi. I mean, look at and it's not just Democrats, but look at what our career politicians have done. It's against the law when you're in Congress to trade stocks and so forth. Nancy Pelosi, biggest stock trader in Washington, and there are a lot of people as she bows out, and Senator Feinstein bows out. If Adam Schiff becomes senator, to represent California, nothing is going to change. All they're doing is passing the torch to a new generation of petty thieves.
So at some point, there's got to be some kind of, and I'm going to say this, a peaceful revolution by the people to have a change of command and put the right people in place, right? We got to get over this. They have all this money, so they should be elected, right? We got to make sure we support people that truly believe in what we believe in, which is in a safe America, safe streets, crime, take care of the homeless people, so that we don't have the issues that we continue to have over and over and over. Because you know what? Karen Bass made some promises about homeless people, and she still hasn't done squat. She hasn't moved on anything yet.
Well, yeah, you're right. But we are talking about decades upon decades upon decades of not doing the job in government. So to expect a new mayor to come in and fix it overnight is unrealistic.
That's not what I said. I want her to.
I don't.
What she did is you got to start somewhere, right? Just like in any relationship, there's always a beginning to try to fix things. You got to show an effort that you're trying to fix things, or it looks like what it looks like, right? It looks like a clown show. Now look, Eric Garcetti all of a sudden thought he was going to be ambassador again, and Mr. Rubio put him in check and said, no, not yet, right? We can't keep promoting people like Garcetti, like Karen Bass to other positions when we know that they're not competent enough to do what we want them to do.
But why in God's name would Mark Rubio not want to get Eric Garcetti out of the fucking country? I would approve his ambassadorship overnight.
No, see, again,
go.
I don't want to hand my problem to somebody else. Right? That's the way I look at it. That's my problem. I'm going to fix it or get rid of it, but I'm not giving it to somebody else, right? And
you sound like you're about to get on a ballot again. I'm just speculating.
Don't make me choke.
Go for it, Tony.
Don't make me choke, okay? You know, Will, and all of you know, I'm real passionate about what happens.
Yes,
I get criticized by some family members because I'm always attacking the family unit. But I truly believe that the solution to everything begins with us at home, right? The people we can reach, our friends, our neighbors, because I can't fix the whole mountain, right? Because this mountain is huge that we're in, right? But I can start chipping away at the bottom of that mountain and taking care of my little side or my little world and influencing those people in my circle and having them influence other people in their circle.
I came up with a little idea that
you're right.
I actually said something to Will when I was talking to him earlier. When you go to this Adam Schiff protest, take a few of your signs and put them around. And
this is a good idea. Actually,
will see your name and they'll go, "Oh, we do have a choice," and they'll see your name, and your name will be out there, even though you're maybe not running as of yet. They'll see your name, and they're going to go. And if they
how can it hurt? How can it possibly hurt?
And if they talk to you,
Mike's right.
You give them the opinion, and they're going to say, "I remember talking to that guy. He's got something going on," and they'll remember it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Mikey. Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Mikey, he likes it. He likes it.
Hey, that's what we call life.
Hey, there you go.
Right.
Good one. So I want to talk a little bit about how we keep giving money away, and nobody questions it, right? That kind of bugs me. On a personal level, because I work in the naval shipyard, and I see our ships not being fixed, not being repaired. Because we don't have the money, we don't have the parts, but yet we have enough money to give to the Ukraine and give them military equipment to fight their battle, right?
But you do have duct tape, And if our ships are going to sail again, we're working with duct tape at this point.
When we were growing up, then our parents used to tell us, charity what? Charity starts at home.
Right.
And that's where all
it's just very concerning to me that our priorities for the republic are what they are and not what they should be. Right.
Right.
We have people that are sick, homeless, equipment that's not working properly, but yet we can leave equipment in Afghanistan. We can send military instructors to Taiwan and spend that money doing that. But yet we don't want to approve the budget to fix our own equipment. And if we have to go to war with China with what we have and what I know, we're going to be in trouble.
And it's kind of funny because when our last president had an automobile, what did he do with that place? He turned it into a tank manufacturing business. So the people still would have jobs. Our military would be supported by what was being produced, and that was right on the money. And you got
it's like I don't know how many of you are car enthusiasts, but it's like the Tucker, Preston Tucker, started the Tucker Motor Company, and when the war came, he retooled his, and so the best thing he did, the Tucker, there's probably only a few left around the world, but he put his dream off and he built the turrets, the bubble turrets that, yes, not just in the tanks, but for the airplanes too.
Right.
And that's where he served the country. But we may wake up tomorrow with an idea, and the country and world events have a way of changing that course. And we have to be able to adapt, overcome, and improvise in crisis. And we are on the brink of crisis. Whether we recognize it or not, we are on the brink of a potentially disastrous war if we don't hone in our resources and our common sense. But that is where we're at, and we're going to have to. What are we going to do? Lay down and roll over, or are we going to fight?
Not me.
Well,
I'm locked and loaded.
Here's what I say. I use this example with the homeless issue, right? Back in my Army days, they were using all the Army National Guard armories to put people up at night, right?
That was impressive.
And some reserve armories, right? So people had
what administration was that under, Tony?
I forgot. It was in 2000. It was in the early 2000s, right?
Okay, so George W. Bush.
So
yeah,
my point to this is all those properties belong to the government, right? They're not public. They're not private. They're not used at all. The armories are only used 1 weekend a month. Right, that's it. Then the 2 weeks in the summer, they go out somewhere to go train. So those buildings are empty all the time, right? And they were using them when I was there. And I know that because I worked out of the Glendale one, and every night they would come in, right? And they would have a hot meal. They would be able to get a shower and a place to sleep that was warm instead of being on the street.
Yep.
And then during the day, they would tell them to leave, right? And they come back at night. We don't have a solution to put everybody up, but we have assets that we can use to help people in the meantime until we figure out how to house everybody and how to help everybody. Because at the end of the day, that's what we do, right? We're supposed to help each other. If you were a family and came to the armory, they would give you a voucher so that your kids wouldn't have to spend the night with all these other adults. And you can go with your kids to a local hotel and stay there for the night, right? That's taking care of people, right? That's at least addressing the issue
to the best of our ability. But when you look at the homeless crisis, and plus when you look at the number of veterans on the streets. And yes, I know there are drug issues and mental health issues and PTSD and so on. But the fact is, we pour billions of dollars into these resources. I mean, look at the budget of the Veterans Administration. And yes, they probably help a lot of people. I've watched them do that, but they cannot bear this burden that we have created. And what are we going to do? Create another generation of no. I mean, I agree with you, and I agree with Mike, and I agree with Al, and I agree with all my heart with Tulsi Gabbard. We must circumvent and avoid another major war. We must. And I think we're playing with fire when it comes to Ukraine. And I mean, we do have to support our allies. Russia is not an ally.
And now Poland wants to have a base put on their country with the U.S. like we have in Germany and we have in Japan and these other places. And Poland wants us to do that.
Well, you have to understand Poland's position. Poland remembers Warsaw, remembers Nazi occupation in that country. See, that's the one thing that we did not have. We have never had we've never had the infiltration that France and Poland, Czechoslovakia,
Austria.
Yeah, and so it like Tony always says, it's a different world. You can look at history and try to learn from it, but the world in which we live is, I really, at 56 years old, I can't believe that we came to this point.
And now the government.
I was a starry-eyed young boy when I thought nothing can touch the American people. Nothing can touch.
The U.S. and Biden and them want to go with the WHO, the World Health Organization, and they're backed by China. What the hell are these?
Well, but we're also, but there are members of Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of them, and I know there are some Democrats on the other side of the aisle. I think Joe Manchin is one that wants to cut funding to those organizations because, look, in the final analysis, they are anti-United States. They are anti-American, and though we pour billions of dollars into these organizations every year in our annual budget, and some under the dark budget, there is money that we give the government that they do not have to account for.
Right.
And I understand why, and I get that, and I'm not pulling the plug on that. But WHO helped the entire COVID crisis bring down almost to its knees the United States economy.
Well, but they did it with fear, right?
They did it with fear.
The fear factor, exactly.
So they took advantage.
COVID wasn't the threat. The fear was the threat.
They took advantage of COVID.
That's
Again,
right.
It separated family, friends, right? Family wouldn't want to come over. If you were vaccinated, if you came over, you had to take your shoes off, spray down with Microban or whatever that spray is, or they wouldn't even talk to you, right? Family was doing that. So imagine friendships and neighbors, how it became, right? Nobody wanted to talk to anybody, even outside. I mean, people still wear masks in a car. Give me a friggin' break.
You're catching. You know, I mean, I find it funny. And by the way, my device is at 4%, so I might lose you.
Okay.
So I might lose you before it's over. But you know, you're absolutely right, Tony. I mean, we keep projecting this. We keep projecting this falsity that we need to be afraid of something. Look. Our forefathers dealt with a lot, and they didn't always do it the right way, but they dealt with it the way that they knew how. And we carved out of nothing, really. And we took on one of the greatest empires of the time. And so, I mean, even today, we look at England, and we say to the king or the queen, who's your daddy, really? The United States. The United States.
But you're comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing men that have moral courage and testicles to today's society, where if you call somebody a he and he's non-binary, he's gonna cry, right? If you look at a kid, a 10-year-old, and try to punish him, I'm gonna tell my teacher, mommy, daddy, right? And so people have lost the courage to push back because they're afraid. They are afraid.
You know, that's probably my greatest downfall in politics is I just, in the words of a great man, I don't give a rat's ass what people think.
Well, that was my saying.
I like that. You know,
I think we all agree on that one.
You gotta push back. You gotta fight. And I don't mean violent fighting. I mean fight, right? Fight for what you believe in. Stand together. Hold the line. Don't let them cross. But we don't do that because it's just easier to blame somebody else for our shortfalls, right? It's easier to
Gentlemen, my phone is at 2%, so I'm going to, because I know I'm going to get cut off here, and I'm gonna do the best to get a new battery for this phone. But I do abuse my phone.
Yes, you do.
and also the other people on the other side of it. So
I have proof.
But I salute all of you gentlemen. Tony Rodriguez.
Thank you, sir, for being on the
Mike
show.
Reichers, Al Collins.
Have a good evening.
And I love you with all my heart, and we will get this done somehow together.
We definitely will. I still got 3 minutes, Will, so I'll keep the rest of the crew together.
Okay.
Stay on, Will, till your phone
I'm going to
dies.
stay until I die.
Okay,
I'm going to be here until the last breath of my phone.
Holy wow, I love that. To the end, right? Warriors
Right to the end, yeah.
It's funny, you start talking to people who have different views of what the world is and what it should be, and I look at them and say, look, I refuse to have a battle of wits with unarmed people.
I like that.
And that's what it is.
Well, it's because it's always an excuse, right? Their fight is not based on facts; it's based on excuses, right?
Oh, exactly, excuses.
So you really can't fight that. Great example. The reason I come to San Diego is because of wokeness, right? People complain about every aspect. Oh, you want me to do this? Well, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. Or no, I don't like that. I want to take a 2-hour lunch instead of an hour lunch, but I only want to work until 3 o'clock, right? That's the mentality of today's workforce, right? And we have to adjust to people so that we can get the message across, right? Because that's what I think. In order to get the message across, we have to adjust to their way of thinking just so that they understand what you really mean versus that wall they put up when they hear somebody talk that's not woke like them or doesn't belong to the same group that they belong to. And that's why I think the way to start is we all have things in common, right? We all want to have a good life. We want to have a safe environment. We want to be able to afford eggs, right? I mean, basic necessities.
Speaking of which, I would propose a budget revision so that we can give members of Congress a couple of these.
We need to give members of Congress a couple of these.
A lot of those.
A lot of them, a couple of these. That's right.
And it's funny because I was thinking about the subsidies when you were saying something about the part-time jobs. It should be like Bill Clinton did. Okay, your subsidies will last until X amount of months, and after that, you don't get them.
Hey, and
Bill Clinton
actively looking for a job to work,
and I'm all for that. I don't mind. Go ahead, Al.
Remember, Clinton did that with welfare reform.
Right.
He said,
yeah, exactly.
Be on there for a lifetime. You have to, go look for work.
And we need to, and if we do that, I don't have a problem with helping people, right? Because you're trying to help yourself, right? And that's the key. I want to help you up
The whole
yourself.
point of the welfare system was to help you get on your feet, not to live on it.
Right. Exactly.
And it was completely taken advantage of.
It's gonna give you
but challenging that point really quick, and I know we're at the top of the hour, but who is the biggest welfare recipient in the United States? The United States Congress. What other worker can go to his boss and say, guess what, boss? I just voted myself a pay raise. No, I don't show up for a vote, but I sure love the perks. Look, if your workers in San Diego, Tony, said, guess what, Tony, I just voted myself a pay raise. Oh, and by the way, I'm not accountable to you. This is the only branch of the United States that is able to say, I get a pay raise and you have nothing to say about it.
Yep.
It's time
Absolutely.
to say no, no, no,
No,
no.
it's time to say
And no means no.
no, no.
No, no.
That's what it's time to say.
That's
hey guys,
on
I
the
want
referendum.
to thank you for being on the show tonight. I love seeing you guys. Believe me, you guys are the highlight of my night on Wednesday nights. So thank you for being on the Tony Rodriguez Show. You guys can follow me at Tony Rodriguez or go to my website, Tony4America.us. And good night, Southern California.
See you.
I salute you. God bless.